Good morning, good afternoon, brother, everybody. Shane McCusker here. Depends what time zone you're in, I suppose. Shane McCusker here, Intelligent Software. Welcome to our webinar today. We're talking about LinkedIn groups for recruiters. A lot to talk about today. Busy day it's been because we've had a lot of interest in this subject. A little bit about me, who I am, what I do. I run a company called Intelligent Software, and I develop software systems for recruiters, mainly recruitment agencies, looking at ways in which you can recruit more effectively and make more placements, make more money, and try and take this inefficient process of finding candidates for jobs or jobs for candidates and make things work easier and more effectively. So if you're interested in any of our paid-for tools, please give me a call or look at the website. That all said, it extends into all the other stuff that I do as well, because, you know, this stuff, the webinars, all the social media stuff I do, is all about trying to help recruiters recruit more effectively and to try and find better ways of doing recruitment. So I'm also heavily involved in, well, I run the South African Recruiters Group on LinkedIn, and I'm also involved in other groups, not as a leader, but as a participant. I write a blog, or rather, I have a blog that tends to end up with full of videos that I do webinars on, called Shane's Recruitment Blog, and it's on our website, intel-sw.com/blog. I've also been involved in the Unconference, the Recruitment Unconference series organised by Bill Bowman, and I've led tracks in that, and I also helped set up the South African version of that, which was the True SA last November, 170 recruiters. Recently I was in London at the True London event, was delighted to be leading a track on today's topic of LinkedIn groups. I was joined by Jakob Valkenburg, who, in fairness now, knows infinitely more about groups than I do, or at least his group sizes are infinitely bigger than mine. So it was really interesting just listening to him and seeing how he grows groups to the size that he's done, which is a real challenge in itself, and I dare say there's a whole lot more to get out of that one. But today I'm not really talking about setting up or growing groups. I'm talking about what you do with. So let's start off by just group basics. A few numbers for you. You have an account with LinkedIn, and this is not a paid-for account. This is a free account. That's the one I use. You can join 50 groups. You can also join some subgroups in addition to that, but basically it's 50 groups, and for most intents and purposes, that's pretty well all you need. Some people are saying that I'm struggling with my sound quality. I'll do my best, but I think I'm good. So if you're having sound quality, check your own connections first of all. I think we're broadcasting reasonably well at the moment. Sorry, back on track. Yeah, anybody can join 50 groups. And it's a good thing to do this, one, because it allows you to connect with other people, but it also allows them to connect with you. I don't think anybody's really that active in 50 groups. I mean, if you're active in 50 groups, you're spending a lot of time doing it, and what else do you do for a living? You know, most people have proper jobs that earn money. Involved in groups, you need to be quite tactical about what you do, because they can waste a lot of time as well as creating opportunities for you. I was looking last night to see how many groups there were on LinkedIn. That's the number as it was last night. Looked at it earlier on today, and it's gone up by about 500. So there's millions, 1.2 million groups on LinkedIn. Lots of stuff happening, and lots of different groups out there. And promotions and jobs and other things. Let's jump over and we'll show you what's going on. Hopefully you can all see my, oops, didn't mean to be there, meant to be there. This is my LinkedIn page. Hopefully you can see all that. This is just home page of LinkedIn. I'm logged in, hence the reason I have my happy smiling face up there. And I'm just going to have, well, before I go over there, this search bar normally says people on it. If you hit the drop down, you can set it to groups and search groups there, but I'm not going to bother that. I'm going to hit the groups tab, and I'm going to go into the groups directory. I'm just going to do this to show you the length and breadth of groups that are available to you. When you first drop in there, LinkedIn gives you its featured groups, and I've been clicking this a few times this morning, and every time I do it, it changes, so those groups will change. You've got search bars over here on the left hand side. I'm not going to put anything in there. I'm just going to hit search and see what comes up, and it's going to give me all the groups. Oh, look at the numbers, it's gone up again, 1.248848 million groups. So I'm rising by the minute. You can see some of these groups are massive in size. There's 1.75 million people in that group. What types of groups have you got? Look at the categories: alumni groups, corporate groups, conference groups, networking, professional groups, other. You've got groups for anything, all sorts of different groups right there. So There's all sorts of interesting things you can do there. Let's have a look at some of these things and see what happens. You can see some of these groups I'm in. So this LinkedIn Human Resources group I'm in there. If you find a group that you like, then you can press the similar groups button and it does a search of groups that are similar to that group. So it gives you a way of finding other groups that you may be interested in joining or taking part in. You can, of course, also just use keyword searches. So if I'm interested in groups for recruiter, type in recruiter all group. It'll come up with groups that feature recruiter somewhere in the profile or the bio or somewhere. There's Jaco's group in there actually, 93,000 members in Jaco's group, Jaco Valkenburg. Just whilst I'm pointing that out, people who own groups, if you're involved in a group, always try and connect to the group owner, because if the group's useful, the owner is most likely to be connected to lots of people in that group. They tend to be people that are quite into LinkedIn. You do that if you join a group, and so or if you run a group. So these are really good connectors, and if you're looking for people that are well connected in a particular discipline, group owners tend to be a good person to connect to. So that's just a little thing I try and do. Certainly, I go through the big groups and try and connect to those people. If I'm not that interested in the group, simply by connecting to a group owner. There's Andrew there, 150,000 people in his group. He may run other groups as well, so he's probably well worth connecting to, even though I may not be really interested in that particular group. It will enlarge my LinkedIn network. So that's groups. Whenever you go into a group, let's go into Andrew's group here, see what happens. Now some groups are open and some groups are closed. This is a closed group. I know that because there's a little padlock beside it, but more I know it because if it was an open group, it would just take me into the discussions page. What I get from here, I get a summary of the group. It tells me all the people I know that are there. This is relatively new, a couple of months old. Group statistics, useful to check this out if you're thinking of joining a group. Tells you the number of people there, but it's more the demographics and the activity. It'll tell me the type of people that are in there, what their job titles are, what their job functions are, where they're based, what their industry is. Good way of evaluating a group are the people that are in this group of interest to me. If they are, get involved with the group. If they're not, pass it, move it on to another one. Look at the similar groups. Activity is quite useful. You want to join active groups. This is an active group because look at that, 300 comments last week. You can check out the growth size as well. Massive group, 3,000 new members, so it's a rapidly growing group as well. That's why there's so many comments on it. So again, a useful group to see how it works and to see what goes on there. Okay, what else is happening? That's the group page and a useful thing to connect into. Let's see, the other way, of course, of looking for groups is that rather than searching for a group, if you're interested in searching for people and then seeing what groups they're in, because whenever somebody joins a group, chances are they put the group icon on their profile. If I click on one of these people, I just did a basic search on recruiters there. People come up, click on one of their names, takes me into a profile of David here, and all I have to do is scroll down. Oh, it's up on recruiter, loads of words recruiter. It'll show me all the groups that he's in. So this is another way of finding groups. Just look for people, see what groups they're in. If you're interested in that person, then chances are the group is going to find people that are going to be similar to that. Just whilst I'm there, by the way, I'll just mention another button, slightly off topic, apologies. This is another thing LinkedIn's added in recently. LinkedIn used to charge for this, and that's free to everybody. Whenever you do a search, there's a similar button, so you can actually search for people that are similar to the person you found, which is useful. So play about that and see where it goes to. Anyway, I made a mistake a few weeks ago. I was running a webinar on how to connect with people, and I said you can connect to first, second, third degree connections or group members. That's not correct. You can only connect with, send messages to, people that are in your first degree network. So, strictly speaking, I can't contact David for free. I'd have to pay money to LinkedIn for emails. However, if I go into David's profile, a little bit slow, apologies for that, and I scroll down a little bit, on the right-hand side, it tells me that I share groups with David. So although I can only message people I'm first degree connected to, I can also message anybody I share a group with. And that's very interesting. This is how you do it. All I have to do is, well, hold on a second here, let me remember this gentleman's name. I'm just going to copy that over. LinkedIn apparently are going to stop your ability to right click and hit copy, which there are ways and means around it, but at this moment in time it's not affecting me, but it is affecting some people. So if that happens to you, we can talk about it at a later date. I'm just going to select one of the groups that we share, and I'm going to go over to that group page. Because we share, I'm a member of it, so it gives me an option for members, everybody that's in my network or in the group. I can search it. I'll just drop David's name in there, click on search, and it's going to come and search the membership of the group and tells me, for some strange reason I get two people, I don't know why, but anyway, maybe David gave a reference to this other person. It gives me David's contact details, his name. As I hover over his name, over on the right hand side here, we've got an option to send David a message. I didn't have that option from his profile. I have it from a group. There's other ways of getting to it, but that's one really useful way to find it. If I click on that, I can send him directly a message and I can do it for free. The other button we have here is invite to connect. Now, I'm sure you know this anyway, but I'm just going to reiterate it. This is another good reason to join groups. Whenever you invite somebody to connect, the first thing LinkedIn does is ask you, well, how do you know this person? Were they a colleague, a classmate? Did we do business together? Now, none of those things apply to David because I'm just finding him on LinkedIn. So the only one that I can actually connect to him with any level of credibility and honesty is if we share a group. If I don't know him, then I have to do that. Obviously, if I click the I don't know David button when I try and connect, LinkedIn tells me you can't connect because you don't know him. So being involved with a group of somebody gives you a legitimate and bona fide reason and ability to connect with them. Okay, what else have we got? And to be honest, I mean, that is, if nothing else, that's one reason that groups are important, is because you can message and connect with people. Okay, let's go on then, and we'll talk about, not so much about finding groups, but finding people. Now, I'm just going to go to my LinkedIn bar at the top here. It's set to people, so I can search for people rather than search for groups. And I'll type in the word recruiter again, see what comes up. And here we are back to my recruiter list. So one thing that I note, this has given me obviously 450,000 results, which is probably too many, given that LinkedIn will only allow me to see 100 of those with a free member. But there's filters down the left-hand side here, and one of those filters says groups. If I click on that, it enables me to filter this result set by people who are in particular groups. And if I click on the recruiter group, for example, this is the recruiter network, it lists these by the number of people that are in my result set. So LinkedIn HR, these are all the big groups. Okay. If I click on it, then I'm going to see the result set from just that group. If I wanted to find other groups, so say for example, South African Recruiters Group, I just typed starting South African Recruiters Group, it adds that onto my filter. Well, it's removed the other filter, but it adds that in South African Recruiters Group. So this gives me a mechanism to do a search and say, I only want to find people that are in a particular group. But what happens if you want to search for people that are in a group that you're not in? If you try and join a group and the group manager says, you can't join, or indeed if you've already got your 50 groups fully occupied and you can't join any more groups, well, there are ways and means to search LinkedIn to try and find people in the groups. First of all, as I pointed out before, whenever you join a group, you have an option, but it's the default option, so most people take it, to put the group icon or group name on your profile. Now that means that whenever you search LinkedIn through an X-ray search, I've talked about X-ray search before, but it means basically using Google to search LinkedIn. It means that those words are going to come up. And there's a quick and easy way that I was recommending people use LinkedIn search, because this sort of works and is simple, is not to go to Google, but to go to this web page, which is my web page, intel-sw.com/search. This is a little bit of software that I wrote. Works quite well. And what this is a way to use a search engine to search LinkedIn rather than searching LinkedIn yourself. Okay? And the reason is because this enables you to search profiles and say, well, what profiles have these words on it? So if I want to find people that are in the South African Recruiters Group, based on my assumption that the group name is going to appear on their profile, type it in there, put it in quotation marks, hit search, and behold, I get a whole lot of members of the South African Recruiters Group. And there's Stuart there. Click on him, brings me to Stuart's profile. And if I'm on Stuart's profile, sorry, this is taking a second to load up. Sorry about this. Hopefully you'll be with me soon. If I'm on his profile and scroll down to the bottom, all his groups, lo and behold, one of the groups that he's in is the South African Recruiters Group. And this works for any group. I happen to be in the South African Recruiters Group, but I could search for South African Business Network Group, which I'm not in, and I'd be able to find Stuart's profile coming up as well because Google has indexed it. So that's a really clever way to be able to find profiles of people for groups that you're not in. This tool also allows you to do other things in terms of searching for people who've changed job and whatever else, but you can experiment with that and see how it goes. But there's another way of doing it. This is a little tip I got from Johnny Campbell. If anybody follows Social Talent, Johnny's a great guy worth following. And this is one that he came up with. It's a bit complicated, so I'm going to start talking slowly. What this is a way to use LinkedIn, but to find people that are in groups that you're not in. Okay, now I'll recap on what I've done. I've done a search, and I've put the word recruiter in there at the top. And I've also added a filter on here that's saying that I'm looking for people in the South African Recruiters Group, a group that I'm in. At this point in time, I'm going to select the URL. The URL is the www bit at the top of the browser, and I'm going to cut that out and I'm going to put it into a little notebook. So I've got opened here. This is just a text editor. Go to your start button and open up a notebook, or you can do it in Microsoft Word, whatever, it doesn't matter. But now at this point in time, okay, where am I? I haven't got that on that URL. I think I have. What I want to point out is the fact that if I'm on, let me just go back to LinkedIn here. Apologies. If I go to the South African Recruiters Group, every group has a group ID. Now, they don't advertise it. You don't need to know it particularly, but it appears when you do a search and you find, there it is there. It's in the URL. If you go to the profile page, it's there. So if I look at that and then go back to my notepad, that number appears down here. So 3368727. I thought there was more at the end of that link, but no matter. Okay, now what this means is what I'm now going to do is I'm going to go over to my groups directory. I'm going to find a big group that I'm not in. Let's go find the biggest group that I'm not in. There's one there. If I go to job openings, job leads, so what I say, I want to find people who are members of that group, a group that I'm not in. All I need to do is go there and find their group ID. I'll go to their profile page for it. There we go. GID equals, in this instance, 1976445. I'm going to copy that, go back over to my notebook. I'll take out the ID for the South African Recruiters Group, and I'm going to replace it with this number. At that point in time, I'm just going to select all this text, drop it into my browser, hit search. Hopefully this will work. And what comes up, search results, looking for the word recruiter. This time, it's applied a filter for, okay, it hasn't worked. This is a live demonstration, folks. Terribly sorry about that. It was supposed to apply a filter for, not the South African Recruiters Group. Have I put it in the right spot here? Have I got it somewhere else? Let me try this again. Okay, so I'm going to take this URL out, copy that, drop it in there. No, it hasn't worked. Do not know why. This is the 4th time today I've done this. This normally works. I've done something stupid. Apologies for this. Let me just try and fire up a different location. Let's see if we can get a different URL. Okay, so the process is you do a search, you filter file the group, copy the URL, put it into Notepad. Then you want to find the group ID that you have taken out. And the group I've chosen is Network Recruiter Group. Sorry about this. This is normally a slick operation. All groups. Sorry, I'm going quite fast now to see if I can demonstrate this. If I can't do this within the next minute or two, I'm going to move on because time is network something, network recruiters. I'm going to go to the profile page. Oops, hold on. And get the GUID, which is that one. I'll search GUID. So at this point in time, we're taking the URL, dropping it into the notebook. The ID I'm looking for is 3124. Find 3124 in this, which is in there. Find my other group. Take the group ID out of it. More group profile. Get the GID, which is 197, so on. Place it in the notebook. Take all this string, drop it into the browser, and this time I'm getting a search for recruiter, and hopefully it will filter by job openings group, a group that I'm not in. Okay, sorry about that. That was a bit more complicated than I thought. So you replace the group ID in the URL, and it'll enable you through LinkedIn to search groups that you're not a member of. Thanks to Johnny Campbell for that one. Didn't seem that complicated when he showed it. Anyway, there we go. So, anyway, enough about groups and searching, finding people. Let's talk about engagement and the different ways in which you can use groups to actually position yourself as a voice of authority, learn from the group, introduce yourself to other people, find other people that are going to be influential to you. Let's just plow on into a group and see what happens. So I'm going to go to my group, South African Recruiters Group, and see what happens. And see that in this group, some groups vary from this one, but this is typical. You've got a discussion section, you've got a promotion section, and you've got a job section. And of those, the most important is the discussion section. The reason it's most important is because people tend not to engage with groups by going to the group. People tend to engage by groups because they get an email from LinkedIn every day or every week, whatever their settings are set up to be, that tells them this is what's going on in the group. And the first item on that email is what LinkedIn considers to be the most popular discussion at that moment in time. So it's important, if you want to take advantage of LinkedIn and want to be seen to be out there to the wider community, is you need to be associated with the most popular discussion. Now, what's the most popular discussion? You can see that we've got a list of discussions here, but on the right of the groups, it talks about the top influencers of the week, and our top influencer this week is Simon here. The reason Simon's influencer is not because he's the most recent post, his post is third in line, but because his post received some comments. The ones above it didn't. So LinkedIn thinks, oh, there's a post, people commented on it quite quickly, that's important. The second most important influencer is me, because it's quantity rather than quality here, but our third most important was a post that was ages ago. But it's most important because it has 28 comments associated with it. 28 other people have been saying, reacting to that. And so that's another one that's going to come up high on the list. Angus here, thanks very much for contributing to the group, Angus. But nobody's commented, nobody's liked your post. So although it's there, it's a private place whenever I go and look at the group, LinkedIn isn't seeing it as being that important. So either post stuff that people will react to, comment on, or like, or simply engage in the popular discussions. If you're the most recent comment on it, whenever you put a comment on it, your comment gets emailed to everybody else who's commented, but it's also likely to feature on the daily or weekly or whatever it is email newsletter that goes out to the group members. That's where people will see you, and that's where you have an impact. The other thing, of course, is if people are commenting on it, if you're asking questions, then you can learn information. If you're asking people, I need to know more about the subject because we're recruiting in it, or does somebody with this skills, does Are they likely to fit this type of role? If you ask questions of community that are expert in that, chances are you'll get somebody who will come back to you to help out. Okay, what else is there? Promotion section. Now, I did some research on this because I have always promotion wasn't that useful. I've done some research and I found that the promotion section is not that useful. I went and had a look at a fair number of groups, really looking at the promotion posts that were up there, and in general found that there was very, very little interaction. People can like promotions or comment on them in the same way as they can with discussions, but people tend not to. I find that less than 2% of the posts that I was looking at had some sort of comment associated with it, and those comments tended to be either somebody else in the organization backing up their promotion and adding something to it, the promoter themselves commenting on it, or somebody coming back with something quite negative. So they weren't particularly helpful comments. So it wasn't really working. To supplement my research, I also put a promotional post up on this group, which basically saying I'm running a webinar and I don't think promotions work. If you're reading this, can you like it or comment on it, simply to track the people that are watching it? No comments, no likes, so I'm assuming that nobody has seen this, and this has been up 6 days now, so it doesn't really seem to have an awful lot of impact. They do appear on the emails that go out to everybody, but people don't seem to engage with them really in the same way as they do with discussions. So try and do discussions, but the discussions need to be discussional. The third section I want to talk about is jobs. And you would think that whenever I click on jobs, then it'll take me to the jobs section associated with that group. It doesn't. Because LinkedIn makes money from jobs. They've got the jobs button is also on the main LinkedIn toolbar. When I'm in a group and I click on jobs, it brings me to some jobs, but these aren't jobs posted by group members. These are jobs posted effectively by LinkedIn, or in other words, LinkedIn have charged money to post these jobs. If I go into the jobs section and I want to see jobs that are being promoted by group members, I've got to go there, and then I've got to click this button, see job discussions in this group. Second click, going to that, then I get all the jobs that have been posted within the group. And what happens is, if people post in discussions, the group manager can take those posts and reallocate them as jobs, or indeed promotions, or indeed delete them. So, be careful about where you're posting on the group. I don't know how effective this is. We did some research ages ago and found it wasn't that effective, but I think it's improved a lot since then. But it's free to do it, so give it a go and experiment. If you're in some good groups and the groups are niche and are job oriented, then why not promote there? Because if I'm looking for a job and I make the effort to go through that double clicking process, then chances are I'm an active enough job seeker who's interested, and if the group's right for me, then at least I'm engaging in a professional community so that I've got some connectivity to that group method. So interesting post, or interesting structure to groups. Groups do vary a little bit from group to group because the managers can set them up in different ways. But have a look at it and experiment with it. Okay, finally I want to show you one other thing. I'm nervous to do this because I don't like it. It's a bit spammy, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. This is because I quite like it. It's a pretty cool thing to do. Say, for example, I'm on a website. Let's go to Intelligence's website. Do my search when I get into sw.com/search. Okay, and I think this is a great website. This is God's gift to recruitment. Every recruiter in the world should know about it. I immediately need to share this with every group I'm in LinkedIn. Well, I could go through each group individually, create discussions, and start sharing things. But there's a quicker way to do it. Notice on my toolbar at the top, I have this Share on LinkedIn button. If I press Share on LinkedIn, another window opens up. And this allows me to take this website page and share it throughout my network. I can put a comment up on the front. I told you it was spammy. Great site. Check it out. Put that up. I can send it on Twitter. I can put it on my group profile page. I'm not going to hit share because that really is spammy. But what I can do also is I can share this with any group I'm a member of. All I have to do is know the group name. Type in South African Recruiters Group. What about another South African group? South African Recruiters Network. I can put in my subject line. and I can put in the detailed discussion. I'm not going to share. And if I hit share, then that will be posted as a discussion to both those groups, linking the website that I'm interested in, that I'm on the page of. Hit share. I can also share it to individuals. Okay, let me show you how you get that, that link on your toolbar. Let's go back to LinkedIn again. I'm just going to go to the home page on LinkedIn. And then I'm going to scroll down the home page. Oops, come on, scroll down the bottom of the home page. Okay, and at the bottom we've got all these little help center, about, blog, this stuff you'd never really look at. One of them is tools. Click on tools. Brings you to the tools page of LinkedIn. All sorts of interesting things here, but the one I'm interested in right now is this sharing bookmark link. Click on that. Now, first of all, I'm just going to remove this sharing on LinkedIn one from my browser, just for demonstrations. I'm using Google Chrome here. Different browsers work in different ways, and Internet Explorer, you have to add it to your favorites. Chrome is so easy. All you do, drag from that up to your toolbar at the top, share on LinkedIn, and there it is. I've added a button to my page. Nothing could be easier to that, and that will allow me to share any page that I'm on. I do it from a blog from time to time. I tend not to try and share to every group I'm in because it tends not to work. It tends to, a lot of group managers see it as coming in and say, oh, it's not directed to this group, and they just block it or delete it. The groups that don't do that tend to be not that well moderated, so you don't get a lot of dialogue there anyway. But what I would do is, if it's a relevant post, put it up there, write something in the discussion section and share it and create some information on it. And it means that for a relatively small amount of effort, you're being seen on discussions, and hopefully you can do something interesting enough that people want to share it and take advantage of it. Okay, that's us for today. I'm just going to recap on some of these things that I talked about then. We're talking about finding groups. We were talking about messaging, connecting with people, and fundamentally I think that's why groups are so important, because you can connect to people that you share groups with. You can message people you share groups with directly without having to pay LinkedIn any money. We talked about finding people, was through X-ray search, or better still, my LinkedIn-SW.com or Intel-SW.com/search. Talked about searching through LinkedIn and then filtering by groups. Once you do that, then you can use Johnny Campbell's really clever and simple mechanism that I feel dismally to show you how clever and simple it was, but that allows you to change the URL to drop a group ID in and search groups you're not a member of. And then we also talked about using groups, learning from groups, networking, being involved, dealing with promotions and jobs, and that would be day. As I say, I'm taking a gap of 4 weeks now because I'm off to get married at the weekend, and I'm off on honeymoon, so that's a little bit of a gap, but I'll be back in 4 weeks' time with another webinar. Thinking of changing the slots around, looking at, we're getting a bit of US interest, so I'm going to try and do a time zone a time that suits their time zone. If you're interested in any particular topics, let me know. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm hoping to put the recording of this up on the blog page, so if you're looking for a recording or want to share it with other people, or share it to all your groups, don't blame me, go to intel-sw.com/blog and put it up there and have a look at it. I'll try and get that up later on today. And that's it for today. There's a few questions coming in, but I'm going to stop the recording now and I'll answer those right now.